Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Loreweek. No preamble today because it affects the timing and I gotta do those timestamp things and it's just a huge hassle that I don't feel like dealing with. So, why don't we start by talking about the usual little stuff that we usually start by talking about. Which means I need to bring up my other notes. Sorry. Had a little slow morning this morning. So I feel like sharing one thing right off the bat. Apparently, I gotta add it that way, apparently GameStop has decided to change the way the Circle of Life program works. I've actually talked about this before. It's the inhuman stuff that GameStop does, which is terrible and horrible. And the way they're changing it is apparently they're no longer going to tie it into individuals. They're just going to have it tied into the store as an overall. Not sure if that's better or worse or horrible or less horrible or whatever, but it's true, and so we'll see how that turns out. Just thought I'd comment on that really quick. I still think GameStop can suck it, but that's unrelated. The other thing, this amuses the hell out of me. Apparently some people are complaining because Elder Scrolls Online is having horrible botting problems. I saw several people complaining about this, including a friend of mine who picked up ESO recently. Now, I find this hilarious because, no, there's a glass over there. My tip jar. It amuses me because these people have no idea what botting actually means. What is actually happening in ESO is there's a weapon where as long as you just...
Of course you follow me. They all do.
Tip jar, like I said. Oh my god, it's a dead. Quick, kill him. It's the only way. To make sure. Double tap, double tap. Hang on. That. I actually changed the graphic of the coins in there too. You probably can't tell. I wouldn't be surprised if you can't, but they are minted with the Imperial symbol now. So, The1, first of all, thank you very much for the donation. And second of all, The1 asks, what's with the tip glass? I just thought it'd be a neat thing to try out. I mean, why not? I'm still kind of fiddling with it. Obviously, since I just updated the graphics. I might move it a little bit. Let's move it over here instead. Just like that. There we go. Perfect. So, so yeah, apparently there's a certain type of weapon where if you just hold down, like if you really just were to hold down the mouse button or whatever, it's just heavy attack. Heavy attack. And I'll just keep doing this over and over. So all you have to do is position yourself just right and hold down the button. And, you know, and just make sure that your attacks will hit enemies and you win. You get free exp. Whether this is acceptable or not is more up to a moralistic and ethical perspective, which is not what I am here to grant. I just find it funny that these people call this botting, considering they clearly have no idea what UCMing or ACMing actually is. Since, for those of you not aware, botting... in various forms have been a problem since the late 90s in MMOs. So, just, I thought that was funny. That they were like, rah! Rah! These are not bits, these are actually little coins with the Imperial symbol minted on them. They seem quite small, though. I wonder if there's a way to increase the size of that. So, hello everyone, who I have not already said hello to. Shoutouts. Why don't we go ahead and get straight into it? We've already talked for 4 minutes. That's plenty, right? Let's talk about Bethesda. I know you guys love talking about Bethesda. Bethesda is amazing. Bethesda has decided to... So, okay. I'm not sure how everyone will take this particular bit of news, honestly. This is kind of a weird thing. So, Bethesda has reportedly been very surprised by the success of Fallout Shelter. Let me go ahead and say that Fallout Shelter was a pretty decent mobile game. I've already completed it to my satisfaction and have no more interest to play it because, of course, I'm not a mobile game player, as I've discussed many times before. But here's the thing. The success was so surprising that not only have they decided to make another new game, another mobile game, and there are people at Bethesda working on making a new mobile game, but they've just said maybe we might start shifting some of our development focus more towards mobile gaming. Make of that what you will. I'm not actually sure what to make of that. Oh, by the way, hi, Medium Coeli and Viridian. Hi, both of you. Shoutouts. So yeah, for those of you who've never heard those lines said before, I've heard those lines said for years. I try to be fair. I mean, again, I'm not a fan of mobile gaming. I'm not, but I do try to be fair about it. I know, right? So I try to be fair. I mean, mobile gaming has a purpose. It has a point in existing. There's, you know, there's a reason for it to be there. There's a reason for it to function. There's a market for it. And you know what? It's not like it's an invalid gaming media. My biggest complaint has always been not mobile gaming itself, but how mobile gaming has, and I'm going to say this as bluntly as I can, poisoned other games. How much gaming companies have tried to shift towards mobile games in place of developing console games or PC games or handheld games. And that bugs the crap out of me. And that has been happening for years. This is not a new thing. And it's just now apparently Bethesda has decided to do it as well and has blatantly admitted it. This is, as ever, a financial decision, because the really harsh, unpleasant truth is the fact that mobile games are, to be as blunt as I possibly can, way cheaper to produce in terms of both time and money than a console game or a handheld game or a PC game. Way cheaper. So even if most people don't buy your mobile game, or if most people don't spend money on like any of the particular things in the microtransactions of your mobile game, it doesn't matter because it costs so little to produce that just about, like, it's very easy to get to the point where you're being profitable. And yeah, they're exactly the one. They are extremely, extremely console effective. Yes, it's part of their origin story. That's right. Hey, Gnarlix. I'm just going to pull up an example here. I actually grabbed this just for you guys. I'm not going to actually show it on screen because I don't feel like bothering with pulling up the phone catcher. Hang on just a second. Now, what's the most expensive game you've ever played? Not counting a subscription fee, by the way. So let's leave MMOs out of this. What's the most expensive? What's the most money you've ever spent on a single game? I think that would be $60 for me. No, that's not true. That would be $90 for me. Sorry, I don't know why I was thinking 60. Multiples of 3. I once spent $90 on a video game to procure it. I can even tell you the game, Earthbound, on the SNES, back when it first came out. I'm not counting, like, consoles either. That kind of... Okay, it's patching. I bet most of you already know the point I'm going to make. Let's try another one. Okay, we'll try this one. And I need to sneeze. Forgive me. Okay. So this is a game called Heroes of Incredible Tales is the name of this game. It's a mobile game. It's actually surprisingly popular. And let's go to the shop. So, for $30, I'm just going to start there. That's the cheapest option. Right here, right on the front page. It's like $30 right there on the left. For $30, I could get 30,000 gems, which is less than I have already, 4 pieces of gear, and it's 33 currency. For $50, I could get 5,000 gems, 4 pieces of gear, and 55 currency. For $100, I could get 11,000 gems, 4 pieces of good gear. Note the previous gear wasn't good, by the way. I actually have better gear now than the previous bundles offered. I could get 4 pieces of good gear, and a couple of skins, and 110 currency. $100. Now, okay, maybe I'm one of those weird people who doesn't make a lot of money, but to me, the idea of burning $100 on almost any game is kind of a thing that make me go, whoa, I need to really think about that one. Oh, I'm sorry, they have more packs. Also for $100, you could get 11,000 gems and 10 immortal jewels, which is things you can use to upgrade your gear. Or, for $100, you can get an armor version of that. So the first pack only gives weapon jewels, and the second pack only gives armor jewels. So if you actually want to upgrade both your weapons and your armor, you got to spend $200 to get those packs. $200. And this, by the way, is one of the biggest reasons why mobile gaming has gotten so far out of control, in my opinion, because people are, in fact, buying that. People are spending that kind of money on stuff like this. Derision and negativity, Viridian, would be the simple answer to your question. I was not happy about it, to put it as bluntly as I can. So, you want me to describe the game? Okay, you know what? Let's really do this. I'm going to show you the gameplay, just to really make my point. I mean, let's get into this. Let's actually get into this. Give me a second. I'm going to do this crudely because I don't feel like setting it up properly, so we're just going to dump it right here. Give me just a moment. I will show you the game I am talking about right now. If you give me just a minute. There we go. Okay. Give me a second. It's loading right now. Oh, hey. There's another deal I could buy right now. Hang on. Give me just a second. To test. Okay. There we go. Boom. Here's the game. For $50,
Oh, welcome.
I could get a
Pay close
donation.
attention. Hopefully you'll learn something.
I was not expecting a donation in the middle of this. Hang on. So here's the game. I am playing a scythe person. Now I know what you're thinking. Oh my god, this is so, sexist looking. I want to stress this. This was the least risque armor I could find to put on. I picked this character because she wields a goddamn scythe. You want to see what my real gear looks like? I'll take off the cosmetic. No! I'll take off the cosmetic real quick here. Unequip. Or no, unequip. God damn it, this interface is terrible. No! This is what my actual gear looks like. On the left there. Yeah, let's damn it. Let's put that back on so we stop looking like terribleness. Okay. Now, there's actually kind of an interesting story behind this game, which is actually part of the reason I keep playing it. Because I actually do find the story kind of interesting. But you want to see the gameplay, okay? You ready for this? Now, I know you can't see me. $100, by the way, in case you thought I was making it up. There's the numbers right there. So let's go ahead and do the next mission here, shall we? Alright. Alright, I am now putting my phone down. You can just hear it thud. In fact, I'm just going to make sure you can tell. There, okay. Hands up in the air. I'm not touching anything. That's important. So now we'll put it back into the front. So this is the game. Now, You do still have to hit those buttons on the right. Unless you actually hit a... there's actually a button that makes it auto-use skills. I could use skills. You notice I don't need to. But here, I'll use a skill. You notice that button that just grayed out? That was me actually hitting it. And... it was one tap, by the way. All this that's happening was that one tap. Okay, here's a second tap. There we go. I have touched the game 2 times. $200 to get armor and weapon gems. This is actually probably one of the better examples of games like this. Zawan earlier mentioned I should get Mobile Strike. Let me just go ahead and make this abundantly clear. Mobile Strike is a disgusting piece of filth. It's one of the most degenerate mobile games of all the mobile games. It's adamantly horrible. I'm sorry if anybody likes it. I'm sorry, but it's disgusting, in my opinion. I will add, in my opinion. It is a filthy piece of crap for many reasons. Turn up the difficulty. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Because there's only 2 types of difficulties in this game. What you just saw, and I'll actually demonstrate the other difficulty, just to really make my point. Because there really are only 2 difficulties in this game. Okay, so you need... So on the right here... oh, it's not going to tell you. Okay, so you see there, it's easy. I know there's 3 things there. But it's either easy or hard. That's it. It's either easy or hard, and that's it. There's no in between. This is gonna take a moment. You really want me to demonstrate it, though? I'll demonstrate it. By the way, you couldn't tell, but this area is an auto skills thing. I haven't hit the button at all, but you notice I've actually used a skill there. Also, you notice I have consecutive battle on. That's literally the thing which will automatically do the next battle with no input. I still haven't touched my phone. It's just automatically switching to the next one. The interface is actually pretty terrible for this game, Medium Coeli, excuse me, Coeli. So, this stuff right here, this right here, is exactly why I take the news when any big developer, and this has not been the first time, again, Bethesda is just the latest. But this is when we see, this is the latest example of a company saying, you know what, this is way easier to make and produce and way more cost efficient than anything else we've ever done. Why don't we just do this? All you need to do is do this, and you know what, you don't need that many people to dump the $100 into the game to actually make money off of it. This is completely ignoring the insidious amount of psychology that goes into mobile gaming. That's one of the reasons why I call out Mobile Strike specifically. They really push the... I actually forget what it's called, but I call it the gambler's cell. In other words, it's the same thing casinos have been doing for, God, centuries at this point, really, but you know what I mean. In other words, here, we want to encourage you to keep spending... Oh, no, sorry. Excuse me, I tapped the screen! Forgive me, game, for actually tapping the screen there. Oh, God, we're still on the easy stuff. Yeah, by the way, this game absolutely destroys your battery life. Now, just to make this clear, by the way, Golvog actually asked this question. I have not spent a single penny on this game, nor will I. But the levels of grind in games like this to actually get, well, to get good, in other words, in order to get the really good stuff and to be able to progress, is insane. The example I wanted to give you was actually Final Fantasy XVS, which I've actually praised for the fact that it actually had a real goddamn story. There's a catch, though. XVS has a point at which the amount of player capacity you gain for just doing the story doesn't allow you to keep doing the story. You gotta go grind. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details, but trust me when I say the grind in XVS is insane. It is absolutely mind-boggling levels of grind in XVS. Or you can spend money on it. So the next floor will actually demonstrate the second difficulty I've talked about before. You notice they've actually started hitting me, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get this guy. Think about how much money games like this make, by the way. Yeah, I'd say about on Lineage 2 levels, yeah. And I have played Lineage 2. I still haven't touched the game other than that one time when I accidentally hit the screen and it was like, hey! So it's just sitting there on my keyboard. Okay, I'll probably die on this one, so this will actually demonstrate what I meant about the binary difficulty, because there really are only 2 difficulties in this game. And someone was like, hey, you shouldn't play it on easy, and I just had to make the point, because you called me out on it. I might actually beat this one, we'll see. Basically what the game does, I've actually kind of dissected the code just a little bit of this game, just because I was curious at how insidious it is. So what it does is it takes into account all of your stats, and it throws them out the window! I'm serious. There's all sorts of stats in this game, like critical percent chance, and attack value, and strength. Oh, I lived. And, you know, defense, and evasion, and crit percent, and how much damage your crit does. You know, there's so many stats. There's like 20 of them. And yet none of them actually exist. None of them have any impact whatsoever on the actual gameplay. There are only 2 stats that have any impact on the actual gameplay. Attack and defense. So if you have enough attack to beat an area, you will beat an area. If you have enough defense to beat an area, you'll beat an area. I do not have enough defense to beat this area. This level right here. And because I do not have my defense numbers high enough, number high enough, I lost. That's it. Hey, my shorts have shipped. That's good to know. I'm going down 4 sizes in my shorts. I'm very happy about that. Yeah, it's literally just filler. It's one of the reasons I relate this to casinos, because there's quite a few casinos out there that do the exact same type of trick. Fake numbers, fake stats that don't actually exist and aren't actually calculated into things. How do I... So good news. Bethesda has decided to start doing this stuff too. More focus on mobile gaming. I hate to be the kind of person who screams about short attention spans and millennials and all that fun stuff, but that's disgusting. Next piece of news. I should have put this in the mini news. I do kind of have a topic here, but it's basically going to come off as a rant. I apologize. My first 2 topics are rants. I swear we've got some positive stuff to talk about today, really. FF15 has a DLC thing. Obviously, they're pushing out the Gladiolus and the Prompto things at some point in the future. No idea when that's happening. Don't actually care that much. I mean, I'm interested, but not that interested. Especially since I've got so much else on my plate right now. But hey, that's not the news I wanted to talk about. The news I wanted to talk about is they have pushed out a DLC which includes... It's basically just a gear DLC, which is the kind of thing that's been done many, many, many times in the past. Hell, even New Vegas did that, for those of you who forget that. As much as I love the hell out of New Vegas, they did that kind of stuff too. No, I'm saving that for last, too. Although, to be blunt, there's not that much to talk about. So, what I really want to talk about is the fact that they had this special Magitech armor that was being released. And the Magitech armor had to be delayed. It had to be shifted off, and they're retooling it. And they're literally either legally or artistically changing the armor in order to make sure that they don't actually have any legal problems with the American company pushing out the Power Rangers movie that's coming out soon. I don't know how to actually properly put that into words, how incredibly ridiculous that is. But that is kind of what my topic is about. Lord knows I've gone off on Copywrong many times. I have just ranted. Actually, no, I haven't, Riven. I only recently have had the ability to stream my phone. I have just ranted about Copywrong and its misapplication. But I want to really line this up for you. So, once upon a time, an American company took a Japanese show and repurposed it into a show called Power Rangers. Okay? I'm sure you've at least heard of it or possibly seen it. You know, at the very least, the song's catchy, right? So, oh God, Dakota, don't even. That kind of passed because, as weird as this may sound, as much as copyright laws have always been a thing, they weren't as heavily enforced until about the 2000s, is when that really started becoming a thing. Mostly because copyright trolls started moving in and realizing they could start advancing that, which meant people had to start defending copyrights more, which led to more stringent copyright enforcement and far more lawsuits, and of course, I'd like to say this is an opinion, but the facts back me up pretty completely here in the fact that a lot of legal people, as in lawyers and other people, attorneys in general, have been kind of pushing for these lawsuits to be done more than not. Whether they're doing it because of the desire for personal gain, because of the money they get out of it, or to keep themselves in business so they keep having a job, or because they actually genuinely care about the rights of their creator, the people they're representing. I don't know why they're doing it, but it's undeniable that they've been doing that for the past about 16 years or so. So, again, a Japanese company had a thing being used for an American company in order to produce a show, which created a franchise, which now they're creating a new movie on, whose rights actually don't even belong to the original company, because rights just bounce all over the place, and rights aren't universal. Just like with Star Trek. Star Trek is not owned just by CBS, for example, or just by Paramount. They're owned by CBS and Paramount and a couple of other companies I'm not even going to get into right now. So they had the rights, and they look at this armor coming out for FF15, and they're like, whoa, hang on there. And the Square Enix people are like, okay, you're right, we don't actually want to risk a lawsuit. We'll go ahead and change the armor to... I'm sorry, I feel like I just need to restate it again, because I don't have any better way to explain how stupid that is. I mean, at least copyright does serve a purpose, if I'm to play devil's advocate and to acknowledge, you know, the benefit of copyright and trademark. By the way, to make this clear, I kind of lump trademark and copyright into the word trademark, but those are actually two separate things, just to make that clear. But anyways, so... you know, there's certain purposes behind and that can be served by trademark law and copyright law. And yet all I can think of is the fact that a fantasy RPG in the Final Fantasy series that has literally zero things to do with Power Rangers is having to deal with this kind of crap. Let me give you another example if you don't believe me. Ever heard of a game called Earthbound? I'm sure a lot of you actually know this, but do you remember why it is that Earthbound took so damn long to get a re-release? It's not that it wasn't lack of demand. Actually, demand for... You can see up, Last Echoes, if you look up there. Demand for Earthbound has actually gone up over the years. Well, Earthbound is, Mother 2, and the Mother series have always been very, very popular in Japan. The popularity of Earthbound in particular actually slowly rised over time. Here in the West. I don't actually know if that's true in Europe. I can't speak for Europe, but I know for absolute fact it was true here in the States, as quite a few groups got together and the interest in the thing kind of rose. Kind of the same thing that happened with Princess Bride is the other thing I like to use that. So, yeah, we had a situation where there was a fairly large amount of demand for Earthbound to come out or to be re-released or whatever, and it took forever to get there because of legal issues. Because Earthbound was made in the 90s, when those things weren't being as enforced as much as they are, where the Mickey Mouse situation hadn't gotten quite as bad as it has. Let's just call it what it is. And so Earthbound got away with a fairly large amount of things that were considered copyright maybes. Most notably songs. And we all know how wonderful license labels are for music companies, right? I just realized I was in a really bad mood this morning. This rant is really helping. Thank you guys for letting me rant about this. I was in a terrible mood this morning. I haven't even eaten yet. So, yeah. This is just another example of this garbage. You ever wonder why I use the term copy wrong? You ever wonder why I rant about it constantly? You ever wonder why I rail against it with my incapacity to do anything? My powerlessness to actually change anything? It's because it's so utterly wrong. And it's being applied so utterly wrong. I mean, I may have to start using this as my new example of ridiculous things when it comes to Copywrong. The Power Rangers FF15 thing. That is levels of ridiculous. Let's move on. Speaking of Square Enix, this one's a slightly more positive note. Maybe. Yeah, let's move on. Let's start talking about some positive stuff. I'm actually, you can tell I haven't eaten. I have blood sugar issues. So, yeah, let's talk about Studio Istolia, okay, which I actually think I'm pronouncing wrong, and Project Prelude Rune. Now, Square Enix has decided to push out another new studio in their development wing, alongside the one whose name I actually can't remember right now. And they're the ones who, they already made a studio who pushed out I Am Setsuna. Honestly, I didn't care for I Am Setsuna that much. I'd say it barely squeaks in at a net positive, but I would also say it's kind of like FF8 in the sense that in order to enjoy it, I had to cheat, which is kind of a negative. That is just my opinion, of course, but I Am Setsuna was at least passable. You know, it wasn't a bad game. Yeah, it was there. It was functional, and now they've made another studio, and they're making a game called Project. Oh, excuse me. The code name for the game is Project Prelude Rune. Tokyo RPG Factory. Thank you, Cosmic. I couldn't remember the name of it. I have no plans to prog. I'm not a fan of the Nier series. So yeah, I'm not actually sure what I think about this. This is also, if you're paying attention, the second new IP that Square Enix has announced recently. I Am Setsuna, technically, I'm sorry, the third. I Am Setsuna was the first, and then we had Project Octopath, whatever the hell, and now we have this thing. I only mention this for two reasons. First of all, for those of you not aware, one of the main directors behind the Tales of series has decided to work with Square Enix and Studio Istolia. So this game is going to be pushed, at the very least, by one of the directors who was, and I want to keep stressing that, one of the pushers of the Tales of series. Now, that was is important. I'm going to mess up the names here because I'm terrible. But a game came out called, it's Zestria or Bersteria. I can't remember which. The two are actually connected. Hang on, I can figure this out real quick. I just realized I have a great way to figure this out super quick. I just need to pull up my wish list, because the one that I need to talk about is on my wish list. Give me a moment. Tales of... Okay, so Zestiria, excuse me, Zestiria. So Tales of Zestiria is a game that was not particularly well received, especially by fans of the Tales of series. And I'm not speaking for everyone, but everything I've heard about Tales of Hysteria has actually been negative. That's why one of the reasons it's still on my wish list. I'm waiting for it to go on super sale during one of the Steam holiday sales. So it was not particularly considered well received. And the director I'm referring to is the gentleman who was working on Zestiria, and also was the guy who is most often credited for Zestiria not being good. I don't know if that's true, but he worked on Zestiria, he didn't work on Berseria, and Berseria is apparently awesome. I'm really hoping that this isn't what it looks like, but it looks like Square Enix has grabbed a guy who didn't do good and is putting him in charge of making one of their new IP with regards to one of their new things they're pushing out. The second thing I wanted to talk about it is that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The second thing I wanted to mention is the fact that the Square Enix is doing something interesting lately, which I actually support fully. Now, some of my viewers have said that I am in favor of constant remakes and constant rehashes and constant remakes and constant rehashes. And all I do is play games from the 90s. And that's not true. Just to put that as bluntly as I possibly can. I don't feel like trying to word salad my way around that. No. However, the point I want to make here is that while I am hugely in favor of proper remakes, and I want to stress proper remakes, I really like it when companies try to push new IPs and try to bring new ground. I'm the guy who really wants Obsidian to not do a new Fallout game. And I know that sounds weird, but it's not because I don't think they would do a great job of it. It's not because I don't want a good Fallout game. It's because of the fact that I want Obsidian to push their new IPs. Tyranny, I want more Tyranny. I want more Pills of Eternity. I wouldn't even mind something new on top of that, you know? Something that is another new IP. Supposedly Bethesda is also pushing a new IP, by the way. And I say supposedly because I've yet to hear anything confirmation-wise about that, but it's in the rumor mill right now. So the idea that Square Enix is going out there and trying to make new IPs in their JRPGs, I'm with that on paper. I'm hopeful that their new IP will actually be good. New IPs, because we know there's at least 2, plus I Am Setsuna. Here's the thing. As with I Am Setsuna, was only a new IP in name. For those of you who were with me when I was going through I Am Setsuna, it was clearly a Chrono Trigger style game. It was clearly a type of game that was made as if it was part of the previous existing series. Just because you name it something different does not mean you're not basically pushing the same IP. Right? Oh, I'm sorry, Tigzar, that's right. I'll talk about that in just a second. I meant to talk about that earlier, forgive me. I need to talk to you guys about Blizzard Sunday today. And so what I'm worried about is they're just going to push out generic RPGs. That Project Octopath is going to be a generic JRPG. That Project Prelude Rune is going to be a generic JRPG. And while they're called new things, they effectively aren't actually new IPs. They're not really trying to branch out into new worlds or new concepts or new franchises. They're just making more JRPGs and adding them into the pile. And that's one of my big concerns about that. Especially given the earlier fact I mentioned about the director in question, who did not really do good credence to Istolia by all intents and accounts. Who owns Tyranny? Obsidian. Don't they? If Obsidian does not own Tyranny, that's news to me. I know they publish through someone else, but I don't know if the ownership rights is not with Obsidian. I mean, it's their own IP, regardless of who owns it. But I don't know who owns it. I suppose I'll admit my ignorance on that. What's our timestamp? Before I move on to the next note, really quick. We're not doing Blizzard Sunday this week. We're not doing Blizzard Sunday today. Sort of. We're also not doing Stellaris Sunday, and we're also not doing more Dark Souls. Dark Souls is too the Dark Souls problem from yesterday is too close to today. I'd love to keep playing Dark Souls, but we have too much of a possibility of things going badly because of the proximity problem, so that's off the list. We're not doing Stellaris because of the same reason we're not doing Blizzard Sunday. It's because I have approximately 2 days to finish The Witcher 3 Rumination. If I don't stream today, that ups it to 3. So I'm going to be shoving my way through Witcher 3 today instead of streaming. Or rather, I will actually be streaming while I'm doing it. It'll be a live rumination thing, but yeah. However, real quick thing, as kind of an addendum, an asterisk on top of that, if anybody still needs to get their mounts in, Heroes of the Storm, and is someone I'm willing to put the time in on that, and you really care about it, please speak up. I wouldn't mind doing at least a few rounds, 4 or 5 matches of Heroes of the Storm to help other people get their mounts. No, I am not doing the DLC. God, I get that question so many times. No DLC, no DLC, no DLC, no DLC. There we go. Let's move on to the next point. This is actually an amazing thing that happened. Actually, let's build up to that. We'll do this one next. For those of you not aware, this is also definitely positive news. How many do you need, Little Billy? And Valvedrix. Civilization 6 finally has Awesome stuff happening. First of all, they have better and improved team support, which is fantastic. It basically makes it so you can actually do proper co-op in Civ 6 now. Civilization 6, excuse me. So, for example, if we're going through for a diplomacy victory, we can collaborate, or one person can help us to go through and do, the diplomatic victory, and the whole team wins, not just the one player. And same for other types of victory as well, which is awesome. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that they've got this Australia scenario out, which is actually really cool. I don't know why, Corellis. Not that I pay attention to Steam reviews. But yeah, so this Australia scenario, in addition to the fact that we're finally getting Australia as a civilization for the first time ever in the history of civilizations games, the scenario itself is a strictly no-combat scenario. It's purely economic, colonialism, and diplomatic. And it's awesome, and it also, in addition to being fun and interesting in its own right, it also kind of showcases what you can do with mods and with scenarios in Civ 6, which brings me to the absolute best news. Mod support. Civilization 6 finally has released the dev kit and the dev tools, and we're finally at the point where we can actually make mods for Civ 6, and the floodgates have basically opened, even within like an hour. Of the mod support thing being released, people were already starting to work on it and seeing what they could do with it. And I am hugely looking forward to seeing what we get out of Civ 6. In fact, Civ 6 might actually be the first Civilization game since 2 that I will actually, if I had time, want to make my own mods for. Because there's so much possibility there, especially if we have the ability to craft custom rule sets and conditions like we could with Civ 2, and like the Civ 6 scenarios have already demonstrated. I haven't actually dug into the dev kit myself. In fact, I actually haven't even found it yet. If anybody knows where you can actually find the mod tools that they have supposedly released for Civ 6, please let me know. I actually spent a good 20 minutes trying to find it and failing. Granted, that was within a couple hours of it being released. Maybe it just wasn't actually out yet. I don't know. Moving on. So I'm really happy about that. I'm really excited about that. For those of you who didn't remember my premiere run of Civ 6, I was hugely positive on it. And if these mod tools prove as good as I hope, Civ 6 will become my favorite Civilization game. It will push to the top of everything else. So, yeah. Tools section. All right. Got it. Where's the tools section? There's the tools section right there. I didn't know there was a tools section. This is why I asked for your help. There it is right there. Civ 6 development tools right there. Bam. Install. Yes. Install. 27 gigs. Okay, hang on. Let's not do that while I'm streaming. Thank you, Zawan. So, fingers crossed for that. Really hoping for some good stuff there. And yes, Poland is apparently super OP, as they should be. So, yeah, I've never seen it, so... yeah, 27 gigs for the dev... Okay, so to make that clear, the dev tools are 500 megs. The dev assets are 27 gigs. But I do like the fact that they actually add the full availability of the dev tools, just like Bethesda does. That's actually really awesome. So, what's our timestamp? I only talked about that for like 3 minutes. Whatever, that's fine. Let's talk about some other positive news. I like positive news. The lawsuit against Jim Sterling with regards to, I don't remember the name of the company, and I don't actually care that much to give them the free press, has been thrown out, which is actually the absolute best possible outcome that could have happened. That's not a joke, by the way. I mean that sincerely. I want to kind of... there's actually a statement that he pushed out, which was, dropping the jokes and just talking about it seriously for a moment. Speaking from lots of experience and my own, of course, campaign against this kind of garbage, this is a huge win for us. Now, when I say us, I mean two groups of people. First, people like me. People who do YouTube videos, people who do YouTube videos, people who do reviews, professional game reviewers. If they had actually managed to bring this to court, just bring it to court, even if they'd lost, that would have been terrible, because it would have set the possibility in in the minds of other legal departments of being able to do this kind of crap and hopefully get away with it. It's not quite precedent in the legal sense, but it's like one step away from it. And that would have been bad. So this didn't actually go to court, thank God. And it's also a good thing for us as a freaking species, because this is stupid. I'm just going to say as absolutely bluntly as I possibly freaking can. This is absolutely insane. I'm sorry, Frozen. I sympathize. I was fired for being run over by a car once. Oh, of course not, Deacon. That's not how the legal system works. So I want to pull it up. Where is it? His demands were hilarious. He was suing for $15 million, which is insane. But also he wanted, where's the whole list? It was like 5 years of constant apologies. Of saying, I redact my things. He was suing for assault? Yes, really. Libel? Libel? I think it's libel. And slander. 15. Excuse me. 15. $15 million. I know that's a weird number to think of, but I want you guys to think for a moment about how much $15 million is. Even at a game company level, that's a large amount of frickin' money. Think about it on an individual level. Think about it at a level of someone like Jim Sterling, who certainly makes some decent amount of money, but is still basically doing the same thing I am. He's just far more successful at it. Think about that for a minute. Yeah, that's insane amounts of money. Never mind the obvious trials and the drama and the trauma, and having to drop everything, having to be at court at the right dates. You don't decide when you go to court. The court decides that. So you have to completely reschedule your life around going in for all that crap. And of course, assault was added onto that. Yeah. So what was actually pushed through was a dismissal with prejudice. I'm not sure. I had a list once of the actual specific thing, that, like literally the writing from the court, which was stating the dismissal with prejudice. But again, a dismissal with prejudice is basically the best possible outcome for this, because it ensures that there's no precedence for trying this kind of bullcrap. It ensures that this isn't going to become a more common thing. And again, I'm going to say this very, very clearly. This is a win for humanity. And I mean that as sincerely as I can. If we have reached the point in our lives where I could go to Roximus. Yesterday he made a joke about me being a terrible player. And if I could actually go after him for saying something like that. Or, I got another one. I got a better one for you. I recently had someone comment on a work I have created and say that I was terrible at it. I'm not going to go into specifics. It actually happened today. I just got another negative comment today about that. If I could go after that person, if I could legally go after that person and sue them and try to drag them through the court process over this kind of bullcrap, then we have officially failed as a species. I'm sorry. This would have been really bad for the very concept of game reviews and Let's Plays and streams and just all sorts of things with regards to playing or discussing or talking or writing or negotiating or media or the very concept of press in general. Now, Lord knows there's a lot of garbage in press. But to get to this point, to get to this level, would have been horrible. So I am genuinely, hugely relieved that this has finally happened. I am absolutely relieved that this has happened. Yes, I know, Riven. I remember what happened with Blizzard a few years ago. I just want to quote Jim Sterling here really quick. That it got as far as it did, went on for as long as it did, is atrocious, especially when this is a case that amounts to a game developer wanting to silence a game critic. Which is absolutely true, by the way. I'll talk about that in just a moment. Actually, I'll talk about it right now. I'm sorry. Let's talk about it right now. Because one of the horrible realities that I had to learn in my past is that legality has nothing to do with reality. If I was to walk up to you and convince you of something through, evidence here in real life, and you'd be like, okay, that's reality, right? Legality has certain rules and structure to it. Legality is a case where a judge can point to you and say, I'm sorry, sir, your pants are brown, and I'm wearing black pants. And because of legality and the way legal wording and legal rules and legal procedures function, this is, by the way, this is speaking here in the States, I don't know about other countries, he can legally prove that I am wearing brown pants, even though you can just look at my pants, here, we'll use my case. You just look at this and say, this is a navy blue blazer. But he can look at this and say, that is green because of this, and because of this, and because of this. And he can get away with that. The fact that legality is so dismissed, so utterly diverse from reality is weird to me. It actually is kind of alien in my brain. Maybe I'm just too linear of a thinking person, but that is something that I'm not actually exaggerating. I want to stress this. I am not exaggerating. So the fact that... Let's discuss the reality of this. This is why I want to bring this up here. Because this was a game developer trying to silence a game critic. And that's all it was. And it's so obvious in reality. It is so obvious in reality. You look at all the evidence, you look at all the things that Digital Homicide posted, you look at all the things Jim Sterling posted, you look at all the videos. It is so clear this is just a game developer trying to silence a critic and nothing else. Like all the bruised ego and all the pissing contest on both sides, all of it boils down to that. When you crucible it down, that's what's left. But legally speaking, well, he might actually have a claim to libel and slander and assault, and he might actually be owed those things based on the court and based on the findings of the court and blah, 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 blah. Actually, Tai 2, that is a fantastic example. So, forgive me. I'm actually getting upset about this because this genuinely upsets me. Forgive me. Let's move on. So... Again, quoting from his thing here. I personally viewed and still view the lawsuit as an attempted attack on my freedom to do my legally protected job. I personally perceive it as an attack launched by a man who is unable to deal with criticism in a reasonable fashion and has sought to blame me continuously for his failures. Even his attempt to even his removal from Steam following an attempt to sue 100 anonymous community members was falsely linked to me. His final amendment of the charges, by the way, this is what I'm looking for earlier, added claims of conspiracy between himself and Valve. So, sorry, it wasn't just assault, libel, and slander. It was also conspiracy. There's actually a specific type of conspiracy. I forget what it is right now. I wish I could just find the legal document. I thought I saved it, but it looks like I didn't. This is disgusting. I'm going to drop all the stuff. This is so disgusting. And I am so happy it didn't work. I get enough bad news in my life. I'm really happy that these disgusting people, who are disgusting, have failed in their attempt to try and make the world a worse place. Actually, yes, Kimarusku, many times. Why do you ask? Yeah, it's pretty new, Roximus, right towards the end. He could, Mike's. So, that's all I have to say about that. Sorry, I just really wanted to cover that. That was kind of important to me. We're actually going to cut the music. And by the way, I'm sorry, a bit of a plugging for a man who's way more successful than I am. Jim Sterling is apparently doing a full video tomorrow about this. He actually did a trailer for it, which is something he never frickin' does. So I don't know what he's going to talk about tomorrow, but I at least encourage you to look up YouTube Jim Sterling tomorrow. He usually does it pretty early in the morning on Mondays. We'll see what he has to say about the whole affair. You know what's funny is I don't even fully agree with Jim Sterling on a lot of things. He and I actually disagree a lot, just in terms of professional gaming opinion. In addition to the fact that I find certain aspects of his show kind of, But to take that and say that anything, I mean, I'm happy for him. You know what I mean? I'm just weird. I'm just weird. Why don't we go ahead and talk about something else? I actually threw this together recently. It's time for some Mass Effect news here. Those are coins, little Billy. Imperial coins that don't actually exist. Yes, by the way, Bill Paxton died. Like, so many celebrities. It's going to keep happening. I'm sorry to say that. A lot of celebrities are going to be dying over the next few years. We're at that era that there's cycles. It happens. It's horrible. Moving on. So we are approaching Andromeda, as you can see. And we are going to be talking about... There's 2 new videos that came out recently. Now, I'm going to be as blunt as I can. There's not a lot to talk about in these videos. For fun, little Billy. There's not a lot of those to talk about, but I did want to at least cover this. So, first, we're going to cover this, which is the weapons video. Turn it up a little bit. There we go.
We're explorers first, but it's a new galaxy. We need to be ready for any situation, including combat. I'm Liam Costa, Security and Response Specialist for the Pathfinder team.
Where is it?
Before we set out, you need some basic firearms and mobility training. The name of the game is adaptability. Only so much cargo space on the arcs, so initiative weapons and armor designed to be customized multiple times in the field.
Just having trouble finding it.
There's 4 main types of guns to work with: pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, and sniper rifles.
As a quick aside, pistols also includes submachine guns. So, just thought I'd toss that out there real quick.
Pistols are your standard medium to short range weapon. Easy to aim and fire, and low recoil so you can shoot on the move. Lightweight, quick to reload. When you're ready to punch it up a little, Carnifex pistol with grenade launcher augmentation for the advanced user. Next, shotguns. Perfect for getting in close. Shotguns are simple. For large targets, grouping, or just some extra kick. They hit hard with a wide shot pattern. Like all our kids, they're highly adaptable. A personal favorite, katana with laser shells. For obvious reasons. Next up, assault rifles. High rate of fire for covering fast targets and making short work of shields. And if you watch your recoil, good at distance too. If you can see your mark, chances are you can hit it. Augmentation of choice, Avenger with electrical conduit.
I just want to point out really quick that it feels like they upped the accuracy of the assault rifles, which is weird, but whatever.
Last in the queue, sniper rifles. The heavy hitters. High-powered, accurate, and long range.
By the way, I just point this out really quick. This is actually one of the few things I really have to talk about here in this video. You'll notice I'm just kind of letting it play. And that's the fact that this appears, by all intents, to be one of the activity spots in the exploration aspect of the gameplay, when you could just go out and find something to do. This is something that is a deliberate callback to Mass Effect 1. You remember how you could just roam a planet and there'd be like this building and there'd be some enemies inside and some loot inside and maybe a quest associated with it? That kind of a thing. I don't know the specifics of whether there'll be quests or if there'll be loot, but that is what we're looking at.
They'll take down almost anything while it's still a speck in your scope. Now, guns aren't everything. Close quarters training is a must. Do you have the finesse for an Asari biotic sword? Or the muscle for a Krogan hammer? Some of you have biotic implants, or advanced Omnitool tech. Biotic abilities can shape the world, and if fighting is unavoidable, they'll be your go-to. Any object can be a projectile, even your target. Or just toss them into the air and give squad mates an easy shot. When you're manipulating combat at a gravitational level, almost anything is possible.
What you just saw is all of the basic biotic abilities from the previous games, by the way. I do like the fact that the Vanguard ability still works as it should and seems to be able to let you go up as it should. Honestly, I know this is going to sound weird, but I think that was best presented in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, the biotic charge ability. Yeah, exactly, Deacon, exactly what I was just talking about. So that's good. Also, one other quick thing, biotics have been, they're stronger. So I'm going to come back to the forefront really quick, because I want to talk about this really quick. Biotics were kind of weaker in Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 for a lot of reasons, but there were actual lore reasons as well, because of the implants, because of the nature of how things were being repressed, because of the fact that only certain people with certain exposure and under the certain right ease of circumstances could actually use biotics to full extent. What I'm trying to say is that there is a lore reason for biotics to be as relatively weak as they were usually shown in the games. However, as much as I love Mass Effect 2, oftentimes, at least twice I can think of off the top of my head, we saw biotics in a cutscene be way stronger than it was in gameplay. Jack is, of course, a fantastic example of this. That leads me to exactly what I'm talking about. On paper, I like the idea of biotics being stronger because they kind of should be. I mean, they should be stronger than they have been presented in the games thus far. I think really the only gameplay aspect that actually showed biotics as strong as they could be, again, this is going to sound weird, but it was the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, where you actually, if you were a biotic agent, you could be damn strong. And as long as you knew what you were doing, you could just plow through things. There was a reason I mained a Vanguard in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. You could just wreck. So I like that. And if we were to be theory crafting, I know this is probably getting out there and probably giving way too much credence to BioWare, but we've already seen several possible examples of the fact that this is not exactly a, shall we say, above-board expedition, that this is being put together by a unified alliance which has no official ties to the actual system as alliance, has no official ties to the Citadel races, as more of a under rather than overboard kind of a situation. And we're pretty damn sure that Cerberus has had some say in this as well. What I'm trying to say here is it wouldn't surprise me if these people are basically stronger in lore, biotically speaking, because of the fact that they are not doing things as legally as they otherwise could be, which is allowing them to bypass most of the existing restrictions on biotics. Because again, even though there are biotics groups that are stronger in lore, and there was a lore and gameplay disparity, there was still lore pulling back of the strength of biotics, not just gameplay. Now, that's probably all horse dung, but I thought I'd at least mention it because it was the first thing that came to my mind. As weird as this sound, if you came to me and said, hey, this illegal group that went to another galaxy has stronger biotics, my first reaction would be to just nod and be like, yeah, okay. Because it makes sense to me. Even from a lore perspective, it does actually make sense. We'll see if they actually do that or not. Now let's see what they do with tech, because I'm pretty sure they show off tech here a little bit too.
Omni tools are tools.
Oh, by the way, guys, people who are killed die. Sorry.
And they're just as useful for defense and offense. With tuning and training, they can be outfitted to freeze, burn, or electrify. And never underestimate a tried and true Omniblade. Options are key. I prefer a little of everything, but if you focus on certain skills, you can do amazing things. Biotic Specialist, Adept is the pass for you. Feeling tactical, Sentinel is the way. Want to get in fast and shake things up? Vanguard. Have a look at each specialization, and you'll get an idea of what they can do, what you can do. Last but not least, let's talk mobility. Fun mobility. Jump jets. Need the high ground? You've always got it handy. A quick dash will get you out of an attack path. Like everything else, jump jets are adaptable if things get rough. Nothing better for exploration. The initiative is about a new beginning.
Yeah, okay, that's basically it. He's just going to be like, with the rest of it. So, yeah. I got one other to show you, basically related to that. Not that I'm aware is the one, no. Which is this one. Now, so, I'm going to summarize my Mass Effect Andromeda thoughts really quick. So far, the gameplay looks cool. And I do mean that. I mean that sincerely. The gameplay does actually look cool. I really do look like I'm going to enjoy playing the game, and that's actually great. But, yeah. Anyways, I think the rest of my opinion is quite clear there. Let's go ahead and showcase something. So this is hilarious, by the way. Because, if you remember, everything that's about to be showcased, I guessed from the previous video, from about 10 seconds of them showing it. But for some reason, they think we are apparently 3 years old, and need to be told it, so...
Welcome back to the Mass Effect Andromeda gameplay series. In this video, we will take a look at profiles, favorites, and your squad. As you level up in Mass Effect Andromeda, you'll gain access to dozens of skills and over 300 skill upgrades.
Duh.
You're free to pick any skill without being limited to a class, which allows you to create a Pathfinder that is totally suited to how you want to play. As we discovered last time, there are 3 main types of skills in the game: combat, tech, and biotics.
Again.
As you unlock skills over the course of the game, you'll also start gaining access to profiles. There are 7 types. Let's take a look at 2 of them, the Adept and the Explorer. The Adept profile is perfect for players who want to specialize in biotics. As you choose more biotic skills, the Adept profile will give you bonuses to suit your playstyle. And as you can see, choosing Adept gives bonuses to duration and...
I'm sorry, I pause it here to make sure you can see that. But as you can see, I was exactly correct. This is the Kingdoms of Amalur thing. Also notice that there's actually set bonuses in addition to just stat bonuses. The biotic combos thing, and then instead of a jump jet, you can use biotics to jump and evade. Which sounds a lot like that Spectre lady whose name I can never pronounce correctly, from Mass Effect 2's Lair of the Shadow Broker DLC. So this is, again, everything that I already presented there. Let me go ahead and just repeat my point from last week. Cool. I liked it in Kingdoms of Amalur, and I liked its presentation of Kingdoms of Amalur. So yeah, I'm with it.
Damage of your biotics. The more you invest in those skills, the higher level profiles you can unlock. Or maybe you want to be more versatile, choosing some combat mixed with biotic and tech skills. This will unlock the Explorer profile, giving you perks and buffs that enhance all your abilities. And of course, you can swap these profiles at any time, allowing you to keep the action fresh, giving you a number of ways to tackle every battle, and making sure you never feel locked into a particular style of play. This brings us to favorites.
I'm just going to pause here. This is going to explain the obvious, but I am going to go ahead and say that this is a big positive for me. The usage of profiles and being able to switch loadouts is awesome, and something that should be in a game like this, because you're limited to 3 skills. It's exactly the same thing that Guild Wars 1 did, except it's 3 instead of 8. But in every other way, it's the same thing. You can allow for far more combinations and far more player choice than you'd think when you limit their options, but allow them to swap pretty much at will. Because then you could come up with a combo that's specifically designed to do blah, or come up with a specific combo that counters blah, or can protect against blah. And so the fact that you can have these 4 favorites and swap between them is fantastic, and it gives you far more mobility and flexibility than simply pick 3 skills and raise them until maxed.
Favorites are a quick way to map 3 skills and a single profile to 1 slot. Anytime during combat, you can switch between one of these 4 slots, giving you access to up to 12 of your favorite skills during the course of a single fight. Here's an example. In this battle, I've equipped a favorites loadout designed for long-range combat, utilizing cloak and a sniper rifle to suppress oncoming enemies. The sniper alone isn't enough, so I'll deploy an assault turret and toss some grenades before switching to my second favorites loadout. It's designed for close quarters combat. Loading these new abilities puts them in a cooldown by default, so I'll have to make do with my shotgun until they're ready. The Fiend is too powerful, and I'm not in any position to take it out immediately, but my new favorites are ready. I'll make my getaway using Biotic Charge and then maneuver around this group of enemies. This favorites loadout is particularly combo friendly, so I'll engage by comboing Cryo Beam and Lance for an explosive result, then clean up with my shotgun. It looks like the Fiend has taken an interest. I'll do what I can from a distance before switching to my third favorites loadout. One that emphasizes ranged biotic abilities such as Backlash and Shockwave, as well as Flamethrower. Let's see if we can find a better vantage point and stall the Fiend's approach. Using Backlash, I can shield myself from oncoming fire and deflect it back at the enemy. This is particularly useful against large crowds of enemies. However, this horde is scattered, so I'll need to regroup. Looks like the Fiend has other plans. I'll stand my ground by using Shockwave and then follow that up with Flamethrower.
Agreed, Deacon, by the way. We remember flames are good against
The Fiend
armor.
is hurt, but it's
You
going to
remember
take
that, right?
more than that to defeat it. Switching to my final favorites loadout, I'll engage the Fiend with soldier-focused abilities. Let's finish it off with Flat Cannon and Trip Mines. And when it comes to combat, don't forget your squad. Each of your 6 squad mates has 3 active and 2 passive skills. In this case, Cora uses her biotics as a support character, and Drac is a bruiser who can soak up lots of damage. Not only can you set your squad up around the battlefield, ordering them to defend locations, attack targets, or rally to your side, but you can also team up with them for devastating power combos. Power combos activate when you or one of your squad mates primes an enemy or groups of enemies, setting them up for the kill. Then you or a squad mate jumps in to detonate and finish the job. And you can always level up your squad mates to make them specifically good at priming or detonating targets.
I hate to point this out, by the way, but that's basically straight out of STO, Star Trek Online. I'm not saying that's terrible or anything. I'm just saying that's kind of how that works, and that's good. I like that. It makes your squad mates at least hopefully useful.
Subscribe to see the next installment in the gameplay series for a look at exploration in Mass Effect Andromeda.
And that hasn't come out yet. I think that's actually coming out tomorrow. Or Tuesday or something. It's coming out sometime this week. Yes, K is correct. So, yeah. Whoops. That's still in the front. Let's push that back. There. There we go. So, yeah, that's what we've got as far as the respecking or the profile thing. Let me make this clear. As much as there's not that much to share about that for people who have played these games before, like you and I, there is, of course, quite a bit of... I like the fact that they're doing this. I like the fact that they're going out of the way to, piece by piece, do a fairly decent presentation of this, and this, and this, and this, showcasing it in action. It's kind of the same general concept of what I like to do with my show. You know, I like to do a lore run, showing you the gameplay, showing you the scenes in the moment, so I can say, here, look, this, as opposed to just take my word for it. So I like that. And I do like the I do like the fact that they're trying to cover all the basics, but at the same time, the cynic in me has to point out that it sounds a lot like what they're trying to do is they're trying to do the same thing Mass Effect 3 tried to do and bring new players into the series. Now, this is a much better time to do that. It's been about 5 frickin' years now, hasn't it, since Mass Effect 3? And so, you know, and this is a soft reboot. In every way. There's no arguing or denying that. So, hi, Salamander. There's no arguing with the fact that this is a soft reboot. So, it makes sense to try and bring in new players. So, I'm not going to try and speculate on maybe them being like, oh, we must piss off old players by bringing in new players. I don't think that's where they're going with that. I think this is just the smart thing to do. Because to be perfectly blunt, it's what I would do too. Even if I was trying to make this a good Mass Effect game, if I was in charge of Andromeda, I would still try to bring in new players with Andromeda because of the fact that it's over there. We'll see. Gameplay looks good. AI, I have no idea how the AI is. I suppose we'll find out when we get there. I might, and by might I mean I'm very likely to actually turn the difficulty up when I play through Andromeda, because I've played Mass Effect 2 on Insane, and Mass Effect 1. We'll see. As ever, no idea about the story, no idea what they're doing with that. Andromeda will probably be better than 3, I suppose. So. Will I show the Natalie Dormer video? No, I don't think there's anything worth talking about in there. They got a voice actress to play a character. Nothing to talk about. I don't do those censorships, Zawan. That's actually Twitch that does that. So whatever you're saying there is censored by Twitch. I don't know if I'm willing to do Insanity Andromeda. It has been a long time since I've done Insanity Mass Effect 2. The cover system, we'll see it in action. Don't actually know yet. Someone asked about respecking. I want to talk about that briefly. Let me say something extremely unpopular. I think respecking, while I understand the arguments in favor of not allowing respecking and not allowing, in other words, basically making it so that player choice matters, so that each choice has to be carefully thought out. There's simply too many times and situations where I think respecking should be allowed. To be as blunt as possible, I think respecking should be available and free and easy to do in basically every game that does that. And that's my blunt opinion. I think that it should always come down to player choice. I don't think the game should try to tell me that I can't respec or that I should respec in this way. I think the game should look at me and say, you decide. And so I can then decide of, well, I'd like to respec because this skill is actually not properly balanced. Or I'd like to respec because I actually misclicked. Or I'd like to respec because I want to try something else new and I don't want to re-roll. Just naming three. Hell, let's toss in a fourth one. I want to respec because a bug happened. That's 4 reasons right there that I think respecking should just be, rather than. It's one of the reasons I was so in favor of Diablo 3's system. How do you respec in Diablo 3? You be out of combat. That's it. Get out of combat. Get out of combat and everything's off of cooldown. So basically, you hearth to town, you sit there for a minute or so as everything gets off cooldown, and then you respec. Bam. And I like that. I like being able to swap around and be able to try things for the 4 reasons I mentioned. It should be, my opinion, it should be on the player. If I want to do a hardcore run, I don't need the game to enforce that on me. If I want to do a no respec run, I don't need the game to enforce that on me. If I want to do a run where I go through and no iron mode run like I did with XCOM 2, I don't need the game to enforce that on me. My opinion. I can do that. I can make that decision. I know how to do that. And and the only argument I've ever heard against that is, well, I don't have the willpower to resist, violating the rules of my term. That's kind of on you at that point, in my opinion. If you are trying to do a hardcore run, in other words, no deaths, and then you die and reload because you just didn't have the willpower to resist the reload, that's on you. Just saying. Now, from what I understand, let's go ahead and refer to Andromeda itself here. From what I understand, Andromeda is a thing. The way respecking is going to work is you're going to have to be on the ship, and you're actually going to go and plug into the ship and just, and that'll allow you to respec. That's near as I can understand right now. They're not super clear on it. Because I actually tried to find specific information on this about a week ago at this point, because I wasn't sure if you could do it just by connecting to the ship, or if you had to actually go up to the ship. But that's fine by me. If I just have to go up to the ship and respec, done, I'm okay with that. And I suppose we'll find out how that works when Andromeda actually approaches. Is anyone anticipating Andromeda approaching aceribically? Sorry. So now, to address the other question, should there be a lore explanation for respecking? If possible, that's great, but I don't think it's necessary. I'm going to again refer to Diablo 3. I know a lot of people think Diablo 3's lore is terrible. Let's ignore that for the moment. Diablo 3 only has the vaguest lore explanation for how you can respec at will, and the lore explanation is the fact that you're the frickin' Nephilim. That you have the kind of power to rearrange your output at will. And that's all they need for that. So I don't need a lore explanation. I just like a lore explanation. And we do have a lore explanation in Andromeda. We've got the frickin' implants, and we've got the AI, not VI, the AI, confirmed by developers. So we have a lore explanation for Andromeda in particular. Cool, I'm with it. I want to talk one other thing about Andromeda really quick, since we're still approaching Andromeda. I have a feeling I'm going to have one of these every week, by the way, as we get closer. I hope you're okay with that, because if you're not, oh well. That's why I put these at the end, by the way. Anybody who doesn't care about Mass Effect can just not watch it, and anybody who does can skip to it, because I put timestamps in these things. The other thing I wanted to talk about is that several people have reportedly already played the first hour or 2 of the game, and, trying to quote as directly as I can here, been unimpressed. And that's actually an interesting case for me, because I want to talk about that. It actually applies to a lot of things. I actually talked about this recently on my stream with regards to a game called Pillars of Eternity. Remember that? So the beginning of a game is something that's a hotly contested topic, and how it should be done, and how it should be portrayed, and how it should function. Some people believe you should start the game with a bang. God of War 2, great example. God of War 2 just started off, bam! Ah, you're charging through the Colossus, and it's just dying, and I've got a sword of the gods from Zeus himself, and I'm using the power of Zeus to, big opening, really catches your attention right off. Some games prefer to do more of a Kingdom Hearts 2 kind of a thing. All right, we wake up, here's our everyday thing, and we've got to get some money because we want to find, we want to get this ice cream. Building up to this kind of a thing. And there's a lot of in between. I'm not actually going to personally say that either that starting with a slow boil or starting in medias res or starting with a bang is correct. I don't think I can even put, even from an opinion perspective, that any of that the beginning of a game has to begin in a certain way, because there's arguments for all of the approaches. There's arguments for slowly establishing. There's arguments for ba-boom! There's arguments for varying up the pacing. For example, I was actually just going to say that myself, Django. God of War 2 actually has brilliant pacing. It is a truly fantastic game. Easily the best of the God of War series, in my opinion. God of War 2 actually, its pacing was basically, okay, breather, and then, okay, another breather. And it does this throughout the game. And it allows you to take a moment to appreciate it, so the epic scenes never actually get dull because they're interspersed with things that let you accept and process and have a break from something that isn't big and epic and amazing. And it also kind of switches back and forth between sections that are combat heavy and sections that are puzzle heavy, and it kind of makes sure that you don't get bored. But my point here is that my actual point with regards to Andromeda here is that I take those comments about not being impressed with a grain of salt, because I remember what everyone said about Kingdom Hearts 2, to name an example. There are actually quite a few games that the intro is just kind of, because they're preferring the slow boil method. In fact, to be blunt, FF7 is a good example of this. Now, I know that's going to rise some ire, but let me explain. FF7 starts with the bombing mission. Okay, and then it just kind of goes, and the pace plummets for quite a while. And then it does a very slow ascension from that point, pretty much culminating when you get to the Shinra Tower, and which is a fairly epic sequence, and then the final escape from the Shinra Tower, and like 3 boss fights in a row, and then you get out to the overworld. So it's like this, bam, and then really slowly up. But my point is, if you played just the first hour of FF7, it probably wouldn't be that impressive to you if you didn't have some kind of pre-existing reason to care. To be as blunt as I possibly can. It would be like, oh, this is cool. Oh, okay, well, we're in a bar now. Okay, I guess I'll talk to her. Why is she talking to me? Okay, maybe I'll go do... Is this the... Okay, so this is how materia works. All right, that's cool. Maybe I go over here. Who's this guy? Oh, that's that Johnny guy. Most people forget Johnny in FF7. I find that amusing because I tend to as well. Okay, so there's Johnny, and what's over here? It looks like everyone's going this way. Is that a train station? That's kind of cool. Everyone's just kind of hanging out at the train station. All right, what's up here? No, nothing. Barrett's being really rude to these people on the train. Yes, I'm playing the game in my head. Shut up. There are certain games I've played enough I have basically memorized. You get an hour in, you get a hour or two in, it's not going to be a big thing. I'm sorry, it's not. And there's a lot of games like that. So I personally don't think that the phrase, the first couple of hours of Andromeda are underwhelming, is something that has any credence. We'll see how that actually turns out when we get there. But, again, I don't know what is actually going to come of that. I had another example I was going to say. God of War 2 and Pillars of Eternity are actually some really great examples of that. Because Pillars of Eternity, excuse me, starts off with completely typical bog standard Dungeons and Dragons adventure. All right, you're traveling with a caravan. Whoops, you're attacked by bandits. Oh, plot hits. You have no idea what's happening. You have a bog standard dungeon. Oh, KOTOR, thank you. That was the other game I was going to bring up as an example. Play the first hour of KOTOR sometime. Just the first hour. Cut it off right there. All right. You have the tutorial, which I'm sorry, I love KOTOR as a game, but that tutorial is bad in my opinion. I even thought that when I was going back through for the lore run. Then you get down to Terrace, and it's like, okay. And don't get me wrong, I love Terrace. But if I had nothing, if I didn't have the full breadth and depth of Terrace, but only the first hour of Terrace, or the first 2 hours of Terrace, what would my impression of KOTOR be? And again, as Mass Effect 1 is also a pretty good example of this. You have the Eden, or not Eden Prime. Is it Eden Prime? Yeah, it is Eden Prime. I'm right. You have the Eden Prime mission, which is again bog standard. Okay, we're going into this mission, and then plot happens, and then the Citadel. And I know at least a few of you were on the Citadel for a long time, just like I was. I think I spent like 10 frickin' hours on the Citadel first time I ever played Mass Effect 1. Because there's so much to do there. And I didn't even realize that it was intended to be stuff that you could play for the next, rest of the game. I thought, oh, I have to do all this stuff now. Now, I'm not saying all of these things are bad. What I'm saying is, if you take out all the rest of the experience, if you're playing it for the first time, you've never played Mass Effect 1 before, you've never played KOTOR before, you've never played FF7 before, you've never played Pillars of Eternity before, and you just play the first couple of hours of the game, it's probably going to be underwhelming. This is actually an acknowledged problem I show with myself with regards to my explorations. Because there are several games when I've played through explorations, and I think you've heard me say this, I've had the comment of, I feel like this is going to be a good game in a while. Let me give you another example. World of Warcraft. Now, they actually fixed this recently. Last year, actually. But let's rewind time back before... Actually, excuse me, it was 2 years ago. Let's rewind time back to about Pandaria or Cataclysm, okay? Let's say you've picked up WoW for the first time back in Vanilla or BC or Wrath or Cataclysm, okay? And you just play for the first couple of hours of WoW. Is that going to be an incredibly engaging, fun experience? It might be. Or is it going to be kind of underwhelming? This is a specific problem with certain types of games that have a gradual progression. I got another example for you, actually. Kingdom Hearts 1. Now, the story of Kingdom Hearts 1 does do some pretty good things in the first hour. But what I mean by this is, what are your combat options? What are your options with the combat of Kingdom Hearts 1 2 hours into the game? I'll just go ahead and tell you because I know. Roll, swing. You got like the 3 combo, no special abilities, no stats, no spells, no nothing. Roll, swing. That's not that engaging. And I use WoW as the example because what are the abilities you start off with? Auto attack and usually 2 abilities, and by the time you've gotten to like level 10 or so, you've got maybe like 4 or 5 abilities depending on the class. That's not really indicative of how the gameplay plays unless you're Redditon. I'm sorry, that's mean. I don't actually mean that. But you get my point, right? Imagine for a moment that all of Kingdom Hearts 1 was just roll and swing. You never got any of the magic, you never got any of the combos, or the things that allow you to do the lunge, the things that change your basic attacks. Imagine if that's all you ever had in Kingdom Hearts 1. Imagine if all you ever had in WoW was the same, like, 3 abilities right at the beginning. And I know some detractors will say that's how it is, and they're wrong. But imagine if that's all you had. You get where I'm going with this? You get the point of what I'm trying to make here? I freely admit that judging a game from the first few hours of a game is just not valid. It's one of the reasons why the Exploration series has a flaw to it, is because I don't have the time to devote to it that I actually want to. Hi, Ginger. I agree, by the way. Tech points were awesome. Yes, Little Billy. That's one of the reasons I say they kind of fixed this. Because first they fixed it by the fact that they really improved the starter section of the game. And then the second thing is they allowed for the trial test. You can pop in and just try out a level 100 before you actually buy one, or before you start a character, and see what it's going to play like when you're at level 100. Red Dead Redemption... I was asked about Red Dead Redemption and Witcher 3. Red Dead Redemption starts super slow. By the way, to make my opinion clear, I love Red Dead Redemption. It's a great game. I need to actually buy it again because I don't have my copy anymore. I'm not sure where it went. Probably lost it in the move. But the game starts immensely slowly, and it's kind of riddled with built-in, like, I mean, they don't look like tutorials, but they are. Like, the first hour or two of Red Dead Redemption is just tutorialization. You know, here's how you use the horse, here's how you shoot, here's how you talk to people, here's how you tie people up, and just, that kind of a thing. Actually, Grand Theft Auto 4 is not a bad example of that same concept. Here's how you do this, here's how you do this mechanic, here's how you do this mechanic, etc., etc., etc. Doesn't make them any less of great games, it just means if you only played the first couple hours, you're going to run away with a very different impression of that game, aren't you? So, Witcher 3 was the other one. Here's how you avoid the rancher daughter's advances. The Witcher 3 intro, I gotta actually remind myself of how it worked. Oh, okay, everything up to the Griffin. I'd say that worked quite well as an intro, because it basically just drops you into what the game is going to be. Here's the open world, here's the quests, there are some side quests, and there's the main quest, and it ends with a boss fight. It is basically a slice of what the game is as a whole. And you see some scenes with some good character stuff, as it should be. So the Witcher 3 intro is basically the rest of the game compressed. So that works for me. I also personally think, this is just my opinion, and this is funny coming from me, I think that some people are some of the people, and I have deliberately not named names. Some of the people who've played the first few hours and given the first few impressions of Mass Effect Andromeda are deliberately being more negative on it than they otherwise would be because of Mass Effect 3. And I don't mean for their own opinion. I mean because it is, let's be as honest as possible, it is popular to hate on Mass Effect 3. And it is. Mass Effect 3 is one of those things that it is popular to look at and say, yeah, it's crap. Even I haven't said Mass Effect 3 is crap. Tachanka. All of it. Enough said. So, grain of salt. It's one of the reasons why I'm trying to be as unbiased as I can be when we get to Andromeda. I have no idea how well I'll succeed. I guess we'll get there. No flirting. Yes, no flirting. There will be no... Yes, Rannoch. Thank you. I couldn't actually think of the name of it. Rannoch and Tachanka were awesome. I'm sorry. And they were even awesome if you didn't do things right. That says something, by the way, that they weren't just awesome if you do things just the right way, but if you do things a different way, it's still awesome. Or if you do this way, it's also awesome. Yes, I know Smudboy is always negative. It's why I don't watch him. One other thing that's also popular about Mass Effect 3 is for people to blame all of the faults on the ending. Which is not quite true. So, I have no doubt that we will get into some heated arguments about Mass Effect Andromeda. It will not be the first time. I am at the point in my life now where I can finally actively say that I don't care if people disagree with me, or that I don't have to be afraid of voicing my honest opinion. It took me a little while to get there, I'll admit that. And on some of my older videos, I was afraid to be honest. And by older, I mean like 5-6 years ago stuff. Maybe Deacon. We'll see how it happens. Now, I guess that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and chop this off. Like I usually do.